Wonderful. Thank you so much. Part 2 of last week's message. And I've entitled this one, Finishing the Race. By the time, you hit some magic ages, you know that you're in the finishing of the race part. Some of you are in the middle of the race. Some of you are, just starting the race. But as I said last week, the one decision that Bruce and I made that we never regretted was to follow Jesus Christ through our lives. And let me tell you, there were ups and downs, and there were all kinds of problems and joys and mountains and valleys, but we never regretted that choice that we made, and we journeyed together. So in the journey of this faith, it's important to finish well. And I want to talk about that today, how to finish well as we go through our lives. And because there's going to be so many times when we just don't know how we're going to finish at all. But whether or not we finish well or not, we don't even know we're going to be able to finish. And so I'm going to break it out into a few parts, and as maybe some of you are not aware, but this journey for me has, in the last 3.5 years, has been one of losing my husband of almost 50 years, and we did ministry together. And it changed the landscape of our family's lives. He was a very prominent father and grandfather, and he just spent his life entrenched with the Lord and his Bible and his family. Those were his important things. And so after Bruce's death, then I had to decide, how am I going to finish this race without him? Well, I cried. I was mad at God. As I said to you before, Jesus and I kind of broke up for a while. I didn't want to talk to him. And, I thought, this is not good. And I'm not feeling very good about this whole thing. This is not what we planned. We were actually going further in ministry. We were starting something new when he died. So I didn't like it very much. But as I began to journey and realized I was called to Jesus on my own. I wasn't just together. And it wasn't individually. It was each of us individually then going on together. So that's what I had to come and realize. And so I started writing a blog the December after he died. And I'm just going to pinpoint a few of the things that I learned during this journey of being on my own. I never lived on my own. I went from an 18-year-old at my parents' place to be with Bruce. So, I never had that experience of setting up a place for myself on my own. That was my experience. But as I look at it now, I see how Jesus gently led me, and it was long. I didn't just immediately begin to feel like I could do things on my own. It took time. But there are 3 areas. For one thing, you have to do the next thing. You have to show up. And you have to dismantle. And dismantling is always the hard part. But doing the next thing, this is something that came to me as I sat in my chair at the house where we built, and it was a huge home on 6th Street, full of stuff, full of memories, full of people living with us, full of people coming and going, all the grandchildren and their friends and everyone being there. I'm sitting alone in the living room. And so as I sit in my chair this morning in the living room where we always shared our coffee and prayer time, the table beside me has many permanent coffee rings. In fact, our house has many signs of loving wear. Bruce hated coasters. He found them to be a nuisance and a total waste of time and effort. He said many times that the house is for our use and enjoyment, and we are not to be slave to it. Bruce lived life to the fullest and used everything he owned to the max. Bruce taught me so many things, but one of them was living a life without coasters. He loved it when family and friends came, and Nadia's here today, so she knows I'm telling no lies. This is my granddaughter. He loved it when family and friends came and used our house and property for enjoyment and adventures. No one ever felt they couldn't make a mess or damage a piece of furniture. They could come with their kids, friends, and pets, and the coaster life was never applied. Scattered dirty dishes, full laundry baskets, muddy feet and paws were a sign of living and sharing. I am thankful for those coffee rings. I continue to live my life coaster-free until we are together again. And guess what? This week, I found a coffee ring on my coffee bar. So I made a coffee ring, so it's kind of initiated again into that. So it was true that our house was one that was full. I came home from work one day to find one of my son's friends, Matthew, wasn't home, and he was making lunch in the kitchen. And I said, you know, what are you doing? How are you, like, hi, but what are you doing? Oh, I came to make my lunch here. We didn't have any good stuff at my house. So that's how we lived, and I'm thankful for that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is showing up. And when you are in any kind of time of sadness or sorrow or grieving or disappointment or betrayal, you just want to stay away from people. Please, no people today. I don't want to see anybody. I just want to sit with my cat. I don't want to show up anymore. But that is one of the ways you move forward to finish your race, is that you have to show up. Wasn't that cute, the way those two little girls showed up to do their little clapping today? I mean, we have to show up for those little things, for the things that are important to people. We have to show up for ourselves. We have to get up and, you know, I have a cat now, which we never had, and I talk to the cat and I'll say, you know, who's going to make the coffee this morning, you or me? You know, what are we going to do today? Would you please stop shedding? You know, things like that. You talk to your animal, you know, and so that was part of my healing process. But this is the next blog that I wrote. During this time of missing Bruce and grieving, I am so thankful. This was April 20th, 2021, so that was almost a year in. I am so thankful for all the years we had together. One thing we agreed on early in our relationship and marriage was that we would show up regardless of the weather, the convenience, or how we felt. I don't know quite how the decision was made, but it was always one that created our priorities. Bruce and I took pride that we never missed one grandparent day at the school where Nadia and Faith attended. It always started at 9 a.m. in Pickering, so we left early in the morning and got the best seats in the house. Any family event was a priority to us. We loved being part of watching our family and grandchildren grow. We were committed to showing up for the good times and the challenging ones. All of our children have projects in their homes that Bruce loved to do. His legacy continues to be one of showing up and getting things done. I am so grateful for the memories that we made together with all our grandchildren. I must admit, it is hard to not be able to do things together now, but I intend to keep showing up. And so for me, that was a decision point. I'm going to show up. I've got to keep showing up. I got to gas up the car myself. I have to drive there, but I'm going to show up. And a couple of things came up sort of naturally, that there were graduations. And then our oldest daughter, Nadia's mother, was getting married. And Bruce was supposed to do the wedding. He was asked to do the wedding, and of course that wasn't going to be happening. So Pamela came to me and she said, Mom, would you do the wedding for us? And I thought, oh my gosh. And I thought, yes, I will. I'll do it. And so I went and got my license to marry, and I went down and I performed her wedding. And it was a beautiful day, and she married the most wonderful man, and I got to take part in that. And I was thinking, how am I emotionally going to handle that? But it was fine. And one of the reasons it was fine was because the man that she was marrying, his mother, she made sure I was fine. And she had a white rose, and she said, I'm going to put, and they were signing the register, she and her husband, and she said, I have the white rose in memory of Bruce. I'm going to put it on the registry table. We're not going to make a thing about it, but you'll know he's there when we sign their marriage legally. What a joy that was. And she really did look out for me in those places. So showing up and finishing well, that's your core. That has to be your core. It has to be your core that you're going to show up in those difficult times. And believe me, any of you that have lost a spouse realize that, you know, there's a big hole in the room when you're there by yourself. You know, for one thing, you don't drive down with them and you don't drive home with them. So you're not conversing. You know, you're in the room, but you are very aware that a very important part of your heart is gone. But as you see yourself evolve in showing up, you become able to follow Jesus in that way, knowing he's more important and what I'm going to do for him is more important, and how my grandchildren are going to feel is more important, how my children are going to feel, how my friends are going to feel is more important than always how I'm feeling. So that went on. The last thing was the dismantling. This was the hardest part. We lived in a house that, we'd lived there 48 years. Quite a big house, right? Quite a big house, 2.2 acre property, a garage the size of a Loblaws, and full of stuff. Bruce was a motorcyclist. He was a fisherman. We had boat, a motorcycle, tools, car repairs. We had his theology books. We had his engineering stuff. We had teaching. We had our kids' stuff. It was jam-packed in there in that house. And so through a series of events of the next thing, I did buy a condo, but then during the year before I went into the condo, I had to dismantle my life. And I'm going to give you how God got me through that dismantling. I'll read the blog that I wrote just before I moved. I will soon be moving into a beautiful condo. When people ask me if I'm looking forward to it, I have been wondering why I find the question difficult to answer. I have come to the conclusion it is because this move requires dismantling where I have lived for many years. This place holds so many family memories, and of course, it is the house that Bruce built. And he did build that house, like nail by nail. So it was the house that he built. When I think of dismantling, I realize the journey of life is a journey of perpetual building and dismantling. When we are children, we leave our childhood homes and we launch out. We don't take with us our playpens and blocks, but we build on our limited life experiences. We succeed and fail, but are always constructing our own roadway, potholes and all. In our careers, we build on our perceived knowledge. We attempt to apply it in the real world and realize that we're not prepared, but we journey on. I remember when I retired as a teacher, and I was dismantling my classroom, and I knew the change was coming in my life would be dramatic. I loved teaching, watching the tools of my trade being shared with others or simply discarded was sad, but also freeing. I remember thinking, that season of my life is done. When our children grow up, another dismantling happens in our lives. And if we are wise, we will allow our children to build their own lives without our interference. Again, this is challenging, but freeing as well. I was so fortunate that Bruce and I had many adventures of our own and built together a retirement life that was the opposite of retiring. It was a full life of travel and adventure and spending time with our family and friends. I'm thankful for those days. Every one of us at any stage of life cannot escape dismantling. Dismantling can come through job loss, sickness, death, disappointment, divorce, and many other life changes. But come it will. It is all in how we face it and how we build a healthy life after. Dismantling awaits for me. I hadn't started this yet when I wrote this blog. I knew I was going to the condo. I hadn't done anything yet. It will include my many collections of pigs, china, books, and paper. Lots and lots of paper. I will drive over to my condo today and watch all the people by the pool and in the hot tub for inspiration. When I started to look at the stuff that I had collected all those years and that Bruce had, it was hard to not attach so many memories and emotions to it. And as I prayed with people that I knew to help me get through it, as I talked to my friends and so on, I was brought back to the day that Bruce went to hospice. And before he knew that times were short, and he took every one of our children out to the garage where his stuff was. And and I know one of them told me this happened. Dad looked at them and said, look at all this stuff. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. I used it, I loved it, but you don't have to take it. Anything that is mine, you don't feel any kind of burden about it. Don't feel you have to take it because, well, Dad may want me to have it. You take the things that you want or mean something to you. The rest, I don't care what happens to it. And he made sure they knew that from his own mouth. And he made sure I knew it too. He said, this is just all stuff. I said, I know, it's all stuff. And so I started this adventure of dismantling, and I did hire a beautiful company, and Rose met them. These two lovely ladies that do this very thing, help people that are moving on in their journey to dismantle their memories and their life. And so they came in, and they sat with their little, they had little uniforms on, and they said, okay, this is what you need to do before we start, because we charge by the hour, and this is a lot of stuff. So what they did was, first of all, put in one room everything you think you're going to take to the condo, and be real about it. What would fit? Well, there wasn't much that was going to fit in the condo, so that wasn't hard. Then she said, let your kids take what they want. Now they came and took what they want. And then they said, take anything that you're going to feel emotionally attached to that you can't get rid of, and everything else goes. And really, there wasn't that much. I already had the jewelry Bruce gave me. I already had his sermons. I already had the things I really wanted. Nothing else really. Because she said, what happens in this dismantling is, if we go to somebody that's not ready to get rid of stuff, then they'll say, well, I got that teacup from my Aunt Gladys in 1955, and when she got it for me, it matched my other set. And she said, now there's $10 right there they've spent on a teacup. So she said, just everything else then we put in lots. And I know that Sharon saw the lots. I know Rose saw the lots. I had 145 lots of stuff. 145. And what they do is, I said, how do you get rid of the crappy stuff? They said, we put it in with a good lot. So I said, so you can sell everything. Everything. We can sell it all. So the lots were all over my house. All the music equipment. All the books. I had a Christmas room, with about 10 lots in it. And all these lots had a number. And they come and take pictures of it, and then it goes on an online auction. Maybe some of you have bid on some things. But I was laying in bed with my cat one night, and all around me was my life in lots. Like lot number 1, lot number 2, outside lot number 111. And so they said, whatever you do for the next 2 days before we put them online, do not move anything. So I'm in my bed. I can't even really use my kitchen. And I wake up in the morning, my cat's chewing on something. Lot number. And I thought, she's probably taken down all the lot numbers. But I got it out and I scraped it all up. But anyway, they went online, didn't make much money. But my friend took me to her home because the ladies said to me, it's not good to be there when you see it go. So everything went, and then my friend took me back to an empty house. My bed and a few things. All my life had been dispersed. And although I cried, I felt free. I really felt free. And so these people also packed me up for the condo, unpacked me at the condo, and it was a wonderful experience. I can tell you the name of these ladies sometimes if you ever have to do it. But what I've learned through all of this is that even though Bruce isn't here, and we won't do this journey together on earth anymore, I believe in that cloud of witnesses in heaven. I know he's cheering me on. I feel him in my life saying, yes, you can do that. Yes, you should do that. Go ahead, Lily, you can do it. And so I got my marriage officiant license. I took the courses for hospice, and I've just started recently to do shifts there. And I'm once again going to travel with sleeping children in the end of the summer. So I've kind of taken those steps and I can feel him behind me and moving me forward. When he left the house to go to hospice, he got up, he had his own shower, he packed his own suitcase. What do you think the first thing he put in his suitcase was? His Bible and his back scratcher. Never went anywhere without his back scratcher. And he said, okay, Lily, let's go. And Pamela, Nadia's mom, drove us to hospice. And this is what has really allowed me to move forward so well. I thought when we left the house that he would want to go and see his motorcycle again. He'd want to walk the property. He'd want to even go down the ravine if he could and sort of look around. That he might want to walk through the house. He just shut the door and got in the car. And Pamela, Nadia's mom, said to me, do you realize the gift that Dad gave us right there? He wasn't attached to any of those things. And in the car, he started to tease Pamela about who would play him in the made-for-TV movie, and he wanted it to be Clint Eastwood. So that he was making jokes on the way to hospice while Pamela and I are having a hissy fit, but he was just still making jokes. So what I want to encourage you today is, it doesn't happen overnight. But I encourage you that as you go through life and you have to dismantle and you have to move on and you have to show up, take those steps day by day to do that and really prioritize what it is Jesus is telling you to do. I can't wait to see Bruce again. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. And I just can imagine what he's going to say. You done good. You done good down there. You did all right. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. One day I was sitting in the condo and I said to God, how did I ever get here? And he said, you're just on a continuum. You're just continuing what you and Bruce started. You still have the grandchildren, you still have your children, you still have everything around you. It's just you're in a different location, pretty good location as well, with a hot tub, but in a good location, and this is where you are to be. So what I'd like to do is put the slides up that I prepared. Of course, this is my hero right here, is Mother Teresa. But this is how, these are the kinds of things I read, that I look at as I'm trying to finish this journey. At the end of our lives, we will not be judged by how many diplomas we have received, how much money we have made, or how many great things we have done. And I think there was a little more on that slide. Could we go back to the slide itself? The previous one, please? Yeah. No, the one just before, like the very first one. Yeah. I'll just leave it there because I can read it from here. We will be judged by, I was hungry and you gave me to eat. I was naked and you clothed me. I was homeless and you took me in. Okay, the next one, please. And we'll go, yeah. God has not called me to be successful. He has called me to be faithful. I wonder if we could say that together. God has not called me to be successful. He has called me to be faithful. All right, and the last one. How sad it is when someone comes to you looking for Jesus and all they can see is you. I just want you to think about that for a minute. It kind of blew my mind when I read that. How sad it is when someone comes to you looking for Jesus and all they see is, it's all about me. It's all about me. All right, thank you very much. I'm very thankful to have been able to share this part of my life with you. And now comes Blessed Assurance.